Hello, ghosties. I'm Chance Lee,
And I'm Amanda McAvoy.
and this is That's So Gothic, a movie podcast about girls, guys, and haunted houses. Today, we are talking about a movie that examines the darkness within us as a society, a movie that asks what the hell is wrong with us on a deep human level. It's Jack with Robin Williams.
Nature has given us all an internal clock. Your son's seems to be ticking faster than usual.
But he's healthy.
Absolutely.
However, his cells are developing at 4 times the normal rate. If this continues throughout his life, by the time he reaches age 10, he could
Appear to be an ordinary, full-grown, 40-year-old man.
I'm telling you, he's our age, but he looks 40.
Jack Powell is a grown-up on the outside,
Why ain't he in school?
but on the inside,
Marco!
Bolo, he's all boy.
Gotcha! Don't touch me!
No, we're not that demented. We're talking about The Purge, but I promise the two are related.
Tonight allows people a release for all the hatred and violence that they keep up inside them.
Why don't you guys kill someone tonight?
Because we don't feel the need to, Joey.
Just remember all the good the Purge does.
We'll be fine just like always, no worries, okay?
This is your emergency broadcast system announcing the commencement of the annual Purge. At the siren, all emergency services will be suspended for 12 hours. Your government thanks you for your participation.
Help me! Someone, please, help me! I just need to get somewhere safe. Does anybody hear me?
Let's go! This way! This way, hurry!
Why did you let him in our home? We have no idea who's after him.
Our target for this year's Purge is hiding in your home. You have 1 hour to find him and give him to us, or we'll kill all of you.
They can't get in here, right? They can't get into our home.
We're gonna make it through tonight, and everything is gonna be okay.
Nothing is ever going to be okay again.
Released in 2013, The Purge was written and directed by James DeMonaco. It stars Ethan Hawke as James Sandin, a security system salesman, and Lena Headey as Mary Sandin, his wife. This is the first in a franchise about the Purge, which is a date when all crime is legal in America for 24 hours. There have been 5 Purge movies and a 2-season TV show in this series, which I did not know about until I watched this movie.
I did not realize it was 2 seasons until you just said that. That's surprising. Is it still on? Do you know?
I don't think so.
Okay.
It's a good concept, I feel like, for a TV show. I feel like this whole franchise exists because the concept is so brilliant.
Yes, absolutely.
And it also exists because this movie made over $91 million and it had a $3 million budget.
Yeah, that's wild.
Very profitable. A 6th one is currently in development.
Oh, wow.
And the critically, though, everyone seems to hate it. So it's straight. I don't understand how it made so much money if everyone hates it. It has a 41% critical tomato and a 36% audience tomato.
Wow. I'm surprised. I feel like it was just like I remember when it came out, I feel like it was just one of those movies that everyone was talking about.
Yeah.
And I feel like generally, I mean, I wasn't like really following movies that much or anything like that, but I feel like the people I heard talk about it liked it, and like, they just thought it was like such a crazy concept, like you said, like, the concept is kind of cool. So I'm surprised at how low the audience rating is. I mean, I wasn't crazy about it the first time I watched it, and we'll talk about that later, I'm sure, but I thought like it would at least be a little bit higher.
Me too. My theory, which is completely unscientific, is that it's a dark, depressing movie, and people like to feel good. And I think if you leave the movie feeling bad, you think you've seen a bad movie.
That's fair. I think too, because 100% my biggest problem when I first watched the movie, and still an issue I had when I rewatched it, was the choices that a lot of the characters make are extremely frustrating. And I think this really came at a time too where like people just loved shitting on teenagers and teenage girls especially. And the daughter does make some questionable choices. And I think it was just frustrating probably for a lot of people.
I can see that.
Yeah.
It was frustrating for the RogerEbert.com film critic, Simon Abrams. He gave it 1.5 stars.
Oof.
He thought it was cliche and he hated the camera work.
Really? The camera work was a problem. I mean, I guess I didn't really have a problem with it. It was a very dark movie physically, like at parts. Like I literally couldn't
It's hard to see.
Yeah.
I watched it during the day and my curtains are very sheer. And so they don't block a lot of light. And I just had no idea what I was looking at for portions of it.
Yeah, a lot of it you have to use like your hearing. Like you don't know.
One thing I noticed on Letterboxd is a lot of Letterboxd people, you get the type of review where they think they're smarter than the movie.
Yeah.
Which is always an obnoxious review. And one of them is like, why didn't these rich people just go to Canada?
Yes, which it's so funny because I was thinking of that. And I think especially for the main family, I just want to respond to that critique about this family, Ethan Hawke's family. Ethan Hawke had to be in the area up until the Purge because that was like probably his job, is he had to be in the area. And do you want to get on an airplane during the Purge? Do you want to be at an airport? God forbid your flight is delayed. Like, and also the whole concept of the movie is that these people feel entitled and safe enough to stay in their community.
Exactly.
So I do not like that criticism. I have other criticisms I would love to make about this movie. That is not one of them. If I was rich, I would probably go to, Mexico for like 2 weeks or something, just like completely avoid it. But in terms of this movie, like, shut your trap.
Like you said, there are plenty of critiques about this movie. That one is brain dead.
Yes.
It's about people who think the Purge is a good idea.
Right.
They just don't, and they think it's not going to affect them. It's about hubris.
Exactly. I mean, these people are so trusting of their government that they're going to allow them. They're so trusting of their government and so sure that society is stacked in a way that people like them are not violent towards people like them, and the people who are below them are just violent towards each other, that they are not scared. They're not worried. There's some anxieties, but, like you said, it's hubris.
Yes. They feel confident. They feel safe. That's the whole concept.
Right.
There's also so many reviews that say exactly the same thing. Why did they just go to Canada that are posted after that review? And I think it should be legal at any time to just purge someone who on Letterboxd writes the same review as the top review.
Absolutely. I 100% agree.
Done.
Automatic.
It's so
Yeah.
obnoxious.
Yeah.
Stop making the same joke. It wasn't even funny when they made it. Like,
Seriously.
there's
If
like
not,
four, like the more
Yeah.
you go, the more you scroll, it's like, oh my God, how many times are people making the same joke?
Seriously. If not murder, at least their letterbox should be disabled forever.
Especially since they're ranked automatically by likes.
Yeah.
It's like, we know you saw the joke just by going
Exactly.
to this page. And if
Yes.
not, you should have checked.
Yeah, right. Because believe me, it's not a great joke. You're not that smart.
It's not that good.
Yeah.
But yeah, like, I don't know. Maybe I'm just giving the movie a lot of slack. I like that it's only 85 minutes long.
I love that. And it takes kind of, not a long time, but it's like 20 minutes before the purge starts, which for a movie that's 85 minutes is a considerable amount of time. And I actually liked it. I feel like it really like, it sort of like made you feel like, you know, I'm sure like a huge feeling if you're living through something like the purge is like, okay, just make it to the end. And when it's like a shorter amount of time and kind of rushed like that, that's how you feel when you're watching the movie. It's like, okay, they just have to get through a couple more hours. They just have to get through this. I really enjoyed that.
Yeah, I liked it. Like I said, I like the whole concept.
Yeah.
The guy who created it, James DeMonaco, he said that he came up with this because I think his wife was like hit by a drunk driver or something and injured. Like she was fine, but she was so upset by it. She said she wished that the government allowed people one free murder a year.
Ooh.
And so that evolved into this concept.
I fully support, and I'm like, I don't want to like be put on some sort of watch list, but like I 100% support that people in the service industry should be legally allowed to kill one customer a year. And I'll tell you why. Because I honestly don't believe, I'm sure we'll probably get into it a little bit with the purge. I personally do not believe that humans are inherently as violent as this movie makes them out to be. And I don't believe that a lot of service people would actually murder a customer, but I think that having the threat, and I think that's something that I wish this movie had, and I don't know if later ones get into it, I've only seen the second one. That is something I would be, and maybe the TV show goes into it more since it's like longer format. I would love to like that concept more of like life outside of the purge, because you must like try to be on your best behavior to like not piss people off and like not, like put yourself in a position where you could be the one getting murdered. So that is why I support that. Is I don't think a lot of people would actually get murdered, but I think it would put the fear in people.
I agree. I think that's a great idea. I love that.
Yes. Yeah. If you work at Starbucks, you should legally be allowed to kill one person. And it should be encouraged to be public.
Oh, definitely. Like in the middle of the rush. In the line.
In the drive-through.
People are mad. What's this taking so long? And then they realize, oh no, they used their one.
They used their purge.
They used their purge. I gotta go to Dunkin' instead.
Exactly.
Well, the reason I brought up the Robin Williams movie Jack is because this twisted individual also wrote that screenplay, which is infinitely more disturbing than The Purge. I don't know. I don't know what I was thinking when I said, I'll watch Jack. Like when we're getting ready to talk about The Purge, and we were like, he wrote Jack? I'll watch that. It's so bad. It's one of the worst movies I've ever seen.
Really?
It's directed by Francis Ford Coppola, director of The Godfather. Robin Williams just acts like himself. I like Robin Williams as a performer. I think he's can be very funny.
Mm-hmm.
He does not act like a 10-year-old. So the concept of this movie is that they have a baby, and the baby is aging at 4 times the normal rate. So when
Right.
he's 10, he looks like Robin Williams. And Robin Williams just acts like himself. He doesn't act like a child. He acts like himself.
Yeah,
And
in like overalls.
yeah, and it's very unsettling. If I had the time and the talent, I would recut the Jack trailer to be a horror movie trailer.
Yes.
Like there's all the promo shots of him like wearing a backpack and like smiling.
Right.
I'm like, this is a horror movie. Like he's got a head in that backpack. But Diane Lane plays his mother, and I don't know what direction she was giving. Her performance is so fucking bizarre in this movie. She acts like such a weirdo. I just couldn't comprehend what she was doing.
Yeah.
And then there's a bunch of, and I don't know how to say it without being rude, so I'm just going to be rude. They picked like the fuggliest kids to be in this movie. Like the kid actors are all so ugly.
Yeah.
And they just love to film them doing stupid things. Bill Cosby is in the movie.
Ooh.
20 minutes into the movie, Bill Cosby is tickling Robin Williams, which is just like
yikes.
So surreal on a number of levels.
I feel like even, if you didn't know what you know about Bill Cosby now, he should not be an actor who is tickling someone who is supposed to be a child. I mean, in general, can we just avoid that?
It's very bizarre. And there, and like I said, Robin Williams acts like himself. And the one that really stands out is when, for some reason, the kids think it's really funny to pass gas into a can and then seal it in the can. And then they pass it down and open it up and smell it.
Oh.
And when it gets to be Jack's turn, as Robin Williams, he goes, "Out, demon spirit!" And it's like, no 10-year-old has ever said that. No 10-year-old has ever said that in a Southern accent. Like that's such a Robin Williams joke. And it just... And then at the end of the movie, they flash forward to when they're all graduating high school.
Oh God.
And so they put him in old person makeup.
Yeah.
Because now he's like 72
Right.
and all of the kid actors are replaced by other actors because they're supposed to be 8 years older now.
Yeah.
So even if you were, there's no way to actually get attached to any actor from this movie because they're all so pointless. But even if you were, they've now been replaced by other people.
Yeah.
Robin Williams becomes valedictorian of his high school. And so as a senior citizen, he gives his valedictorian speech about how he's going to die soon and how he lived this short life. And then they ride off to party. And,
oh my God.
Oh, and I also forgot the scene where his friend's mom, who's played by Fran Drescher, who is so good in this movie.
Yeah.
She seems to be the only one who gets the assignment and the only one who is acting. I don't know how to put it. Like, she's just so great in this movie, but her character is that she doesn't know he's 10, so she just hits on him all the time because she's so single and horny. And and they never revisit it and revisit the fact that she was hitting on her son's friend because he tells her that he's the vice principal.
Oh my God.
But she's divorced and lonely, and
of course. Yeah.
She's so hot in it, and she's so good. And then and Jennifer Lopez is in it.
Oh yeah, isn't she like the teacher, like the kindergarten teacher?
She's his teacher, and she only has 2 scenes, but she's good in it too.
Oh, okay, all right,
but
Jenny.
It's trash, and I'm sorry I spent so much time talking about it, but it's so bad.
I feel like you need to understand the director's psyche, though, going into The Purge.
I feel like it does kind of say something because obviously, I mean, he wrote this. We don't know the reason. We don't know what gets changed in the studio system. But he obviously thought there was something to this movie. So
Yeah.
it makes me second guess anything he has to say about human nature. Like you were saying, maybe humans aren't that violent after all. If he thought that
Yes.
Jack was funny, he doesn't really get people.
Right.
But anyway, sorry for that diversion. I had to vent my trauma from
Yeah.
Jack.
That's okay.
But
on the next
back to this
Purge
movie.
Night, we'll remove all of the DVDs of Jack from every.
They should, like, for the next Purge movie, they lock them in a room and make them watch Jack, and they're all just like, "No, we'd rather be out there.
Yeah,
we'd rather be out there in the Purge."
Yeah.
Oh my god. But this movie has a couple of named actors in it. Most of the actors I did not recognize. But we have Ethan Hawke.
Yep.
Do you want to take the floor on Ethan Hawke?
I mean, you know what's so funny is like I hated Ethan Hawke for the longest time. Something about him. You know what it was?
I'm still in that phase.
Yeah. So I won't disparage him too much. I had an ex-boyfriend who was really into movies, really into film, and he loved Ethan Hawke. And it made me hate him because he was in those Before Sunrise, and I still don't understand. I know that it's just talking, and it's like that's supposed to be great. It's fucking awful. Like, stop lying to yourselves. It's bad. It's just people. It's just talking. Put on Seinfeld. Like, I don't like, we don't need this. And then he was also in that movie. It was like, is it called Boyhood with like Patricia Arquette, and it follows that one actor. Like it actually follows the kid actor growing up.
They filmed it over like 13 years or something.
Yes. And it pissed me off because I was like, the only reason Ethan Hawke has a job and is in Hollywood still is because he's in these 2 movie franchise things that span decades. It's the only reason. And it pissed me off so much. And then I remember, I think like the only other movie I had seen of Ethan Hawke around that time was he was in a terrible vampire movie called Daybreakers. I just specifically remember getting it from a red box and watching it. And I don't know exactly when it was that my opinion of him changed. I did really like Black Phone, the newer one, right? Is it Black? I always want to call it Black Box, but I think it's Black Phone.
Black Phone.
I liked that. He was in the Moon Knight series. That was pretty good. And I really liked him in this. So my opinion on him has definitely changed. I like him. I would like to watch more with him in it. I can't think of anything else I've seen. I don't know. Do you have any Ethan Hawke performances that stand out to you? Yeah.
What's the popular one he's in? Is it that's from the 90s with Winona Ryder? Is she in it? Is it and Ben Stiller and Janine Garofalo? It's like a Gen X.
Yeah.
What is that one? It's not Dazed and Confused. It's Reality Bites.
Oh, okay. I actually haven't seen that.
People love that movie and love him in it. He's such a fucking dick. I just wish Winona would have chosen Ben Stiller. Like, it's like 90s counterculture, and so they hate Ben Stiller because he has a job. And then Ethan Hawke is just such a fucking obnoxious loser twat, and so they love him. And then he was married to Uma Thurman for a long time, and I love Uma Thurman.
Yes.
They were in Gattaca together, which I haven't seen in 1,000 years, but
yes,
I saw that in the
vaguely
theater.
remember that. Yeah.
Yeah. And he's in First Reformed, which I really, really, really like in spite of him. I don't like his performance in it.
Interesting.
I like the movie a lot.
Yes, because that's a movie that is like very much at the top of my watch list. I need to watch that. I highly recommend it. I am going to go see his new movie. I can't remember the name of it, but he's going to be showing it and then answering questions at the Coolidge after. But what
Because he's
bothers me,
directing now, right?
yes, yeah. So he's directing this movie. So what bothers me though is I'm excited about Flannery O'Connor. I think this is the movie we're
Oh,
seeing. I could be wrong, but he is definitely directing a movie about Flannery O'Connor, and she's a very iffy figure. I like a lot of her stuff, but she was not always the best person. And it's starring his daughter, which, like, I get it. I like her,
Maya.
but like, yeah, so nepotism.
Is
So
she? What does she do? Is
she's the
she?
Stranger Things.
She's a
That's her
Stranger
big
Thing.
thing.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah, she's a Stranger Thing. And she's been in a couple
Okay.
other things. I liked her in. She was in that like Netflix movie that was kind of good. It was like kind of a Heathers thing. Um, I can't remember what it was called. It had the girl from Riverdale. Is that the Arthur show?
These are Archie. These are
Archie. Yeah.
all references I don't
Yes.
associate
It's
with.
definitely still like a generation below me, so like I'm not 100% sure. Um, but that was okay. I mean, she's good, but it's just like it's always a little bit disappointing to see that.
Yeah. She's in one of the Fear Street movies that was on Netflix.
Oh, that's right. She's in like the 1700s one, 1600s?
To be fair, I don't really know what she looks like, so I didn't
Yeah.
know which one she was. I thought she
Yeah.
was a different character for a lot of the time.
Yeah, yeah. I do think she took after Uma a lot. She looks like Uma Thurman a lot.
Thank God.
Yeah.
Only we all
Seriously.
look like Uma Thurman.
I know, seriously. But yeah, so that's my opinion on Ethan Hawke.
Well, I love that. I love that you've
Yeah.
evolved. Someday I will
Yeah.
also evolve.
Yeah.
We'll see.
He's slowly rising through the ranks.
Yeah. Well, yes.
Yeah.
I'll just leave it at that. We also have Lena Headey.
Yes.
Were you a Game of Thrones watcher?
Yes, very much so. I loved Game of
Okay,
Thrones.
I've never seen it.
I very much loved it. I loved her in it. That's all. I could go on about Game of Thrones. I'll put a pin in it right now. But she's great.
Okay.
And this is a very different role than she plays in Game of Thrones. But it's so funny because I feel like she has this quirk that I noticed on my second time watching this, and it's something she did a lot in Game of Thrones, where she always like clenches her teeth and then just kind of like lets her like her top lip like curl up. And I feel like in Game of Thrones it's like very much in like a disgusted way, and in this movie it's in like a very anxious way. So I thought that was kind of funny, but she's great.
Oh, that's fascinating.
Yeah.
People like her. I liked her in this movie, but I was also thinking that seemed to be a meek role for her.
Yeah, that's the thing, is like I wish she had pulled out some more of that, like, Cersei scariness. Although at the end she kind of has like a moment that I like, but it is very she very much plays the like doting wife and mother kind of thing.
Yeah, because I also had known her from, she's in 300. The Zack
That's
Snyder.
right.
She's and she also played Sarah Connor in there was a Terminator TV series.
Oh, was she in that?
Yeah, she was Sarah Connor in that. So I typically associate her with a badass.
Yeah.
And so it was unusual seeing her being the wine drinking housewife.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah, it was.
The one who probably goes to a book club and doesn't read the book and just drinks the wine. Like, I feel like that's her type in this.
Oh, for sure. For sure.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But we can segue from her to our Gothic elements.
Mm-hmm.
All Gothic films have 4 categories: a girl, a guy, a house, and a haunt. And I think she fits into the girl category pretty well.
Yeah. I mean, you could kind of argue that a lot of the family does, like her and the 2 kids.
And the kids.
Yeah. Yeah, but she I could see her definitely, especially as the movie progresses. She kind of like
Mhm.
takes up the mantle of like a gothic heroine.
And they're running around through this house in the dark a lot. But
Yeah.
yeah, it's tough. I waffled back and forth on where to put the kids because I feel like one of the morals of this story is like if you have a security system, don't let the kids know the code.
Seriously. Seriously. Just don't let them in it. Just don't show them.
Right. There was no
Yeah.
reason for them to know the code.
Yeah.
That's all things go to hell in this movie because the boy puts the code in.
Yeah.
And we are a podcast where we love bad things happening to children.
Oh, yes.
And bad things don't happen to these kids.
No, and these kids deserve it. Like, I'm sorry, these children deserve it. I was actually, my second time watching it, I was like, does a kid die? Like, I was like trying to remember. I was like, I remember, spoiler alert. If you haven't watched the movie before listening to this, what are you doing anyways? But like, Ethan Hawke dies in it. And I remembered that part. But I was watching it and I was like, I feel like the little kid dies, the little boy. But obviously I was wrong. And neither of the kids die. And it's disappointing.
The worst thing that happens to that kid is his haircut.
Oh, yeah, it's bad.
His haircut is so bad. It's so bad that they used the poor kid as a jump scare early in the movie. Like I felt bad for him because I was like, oh, is he going to turn out to be kind of a creep? But the character ends up being a little sappy and sentimental. But like, there's the typical like mom shuts the fridge door and the kid's right there. She's like, like. And he's got the creepy hair, and he has a weird robot with like a Sid from Toy Story doll head on it.
Which I was gonna say that is the one part that like endears me to him is that he has this creepy doll that is like also a camera, like a little RV thing, and he likes to hide in this little nook in his closet, which is something I did as a child. So, like, this kid is like for sure autistic, and I do love that, but like he just unexcusable. Like, what a dumbass.
I know. And even though I think this is something else that might relate it back to Jack, surprisingly, even though the premise is so cynical of the Purge, they all ultimately become something uplifting in the end. And at least I don't know if it happened I've watched 4 of them at this point. And mild spoilers, but it seems like in at least 3 of them, someone that they've rescued and taken like pity on and rescued comes back and saves them at the end.
Yes.
It happens frequently in this franchise.
Right. Yeah, because we haven't really like touched on, the fact that there is sort of this extra character who is the one who's let into the house. I don't think he's ever named. I think even on like he's like credited as like
he's like the bloody stranger or something. Yeah.
And I mean he could be kind of a gothic girl too. Like he's trying to evade danger. He gets sort of swept up into this house. I mean, I don't know.
And he gets a multi-movie arc. He's in the first 3.
He's in the second one?
He's in the second one. He's one of the like resistance people.
Oh, okay.
He has a little more agency.
Yeah. So I have seen the second one, but I wish I had paid more attention. So I need to go back and rewatch that one because I do like that concept of there being like a counter culture against the Purge.
They start building out the world a little more as they go on. And one thing I liked about the movie is that it does ask so many interesting questions. I think it makes you wonder what you would do in this scenario more so than a lot of movies. I feel like this one really interrogates you.
Yeah. And especially just like the time that we live in now. I won't get into it too much because I feel like this is a whole separate conversation from what we usually talk about, but like this movie feels very apt right now where we are right now in society. I'm not saying this will ever happen, but I think, post COVID world and, knowing what we know, living through a pandemic, as much as I said, I don't think people are as violent and selfish as this movie makes humanity out to be. I think I probably believe that less post COVID. So, especially watching this now, it's like, ooh, ouchie.
Yeah, it's very prescient. And I guess the third movie had a tagline, which was "Keep America Great."
Oh, God.
And that became a Trump campaign slogan for his reelection campaign.
Movie came out.
It came out before.
Oh my God. I had no idea that Donald Trump was such a Purge fan. That scares me. Has anyone asked him if he would make the Purge? Like, has anyone seriously asked him this?
They should.
We need to get on the phone with the Washington Post, like, ASAP.
They really should, yeah.
Yeah. Although I'm afraid that would help his campaign right now, is if he said yes.
Doesn't he have his own social media network now? Is he Truth Social?
Right.
Maybe he just we could just ask him. We could ask him. We should ask him.
Yeah.
I'd have to create an account, but I'll do that and I'll ask him and report back.
Yeah. Okay, cool. Thank you.
Watch him be the one person that responds. Like, I tried to get I don't know if you remember, I tried to get Lisa Marie Presley to tell us if Black Christmas was really Elvis's favorite movie, and she never answered me. But watch Trump be the one who answers me.
The one who gives us a soundbite for our podcast.
Yeah, we'll so see. Oh my goodness. But so we also have our guy in this scenario. I think the Ethan Hawke character, what is his name again? James. James. He's a decent gothic guy, I feel like, because he's one of the more sometimes they're hapless. They have good intentions, and they get their loved ones into a bad scenario because of their own carelessness.
Yeah.
And he fits that to a T.
I like the concept too of he thinks he's doing the right thing, and he thinks that he's doing the safest thing. But, he even says, his wife says, like, what do you mean? Like, these people can break into the house. And he's like, of course they can if they like tunnel or like use a tank, or, you know what I mean? And it's just like, I just like that concept of him being this, in the lens of a gothic guy. Like, he didn't necessarily mean for everything to go, ass up, but
right.
Guess what? Like, the situation, it just does.
And when it does, his darker side comes out, because they get put in the situation where they're told the kid welcomes this stranger into the house because he's injured, and someone chasing him comes and says, you need to give us this stranger and let us kill him, or we're going to come in and kill your family. Yeah. And the family kind of waffles around a lot, but they don't want to kill the stranger. They don't have a plan B, but they don't want to kill the stranger. And so he decides they're just going to do it. They're going to send him out and see what happens.
Yeah. Which I think, like, just talking about it now, like, I don't think I really realized how, like, cool, like, I don't think that's the word I want to use, but like interesting. The idea is that this movie that has this like very meta, sort of plot of the purge and like a nation partaking in this, and then using that to focus on this family's one decision of like whether or not to give this guy up. I do think that's like kind of a cool concept. And how much it like changes the characters,
their dynamics and everything. And I think that's the big scene too, where that it's like, what would you do? What would you do in this scenario?
Seriously.
It's such a conundrum, I feel like.
Like, I like thinking about the Purge on that larger level, and it's probably why I will enjoy the later movies. But it's like, it is, you kind of touched on it at the beginning. It's really depressing to think about these more like minute things. Like, would you let this person be murdered. Like, you don't want to think of that. Like,
Right.
that is not a fun philosophical debate to have in your own head. Like,
right. I would not call this a fun movie at all.
No, it's not. It has some ridiculous parts, but you don't want to think about it, you know?
Yeah.
Like, ugh.
And they're all kind of gross like that too, which
Yeah.
But it is interesting. But we do have our haunt, which is young white libertarians.
Yes.
That's
I will say,
really you need to be afraid of.
Yes. I love the like bad guys in this. They are so over the top bad. This is, I guess that's like the fun part of this movie is, first of all, when I was watching the movie, I looked up the guy who plays sort of the main, really creepy guy. I couldn't believe, like,
the only one who takes his mask off.
Yes, he like really hasn't done much else, or at least anything that like I recognize. I think he's Australian or something.
Yeah.
Which
I was shocked because he's very handsome and very charismatic in a villain role. I feel like he could just do.
I feel
anything.
like he would.
I don't know what happened.
He's like the Australian, or actually, aren't the what are the Skarsgards? Anyways,
Norwegian.
Nordic?
They're European. They're in that Nordic zone.
Yeah, they're very Viking.
They're on the Nordic track.
Yeah, he's like the Australian version of Alexander. Is he Pennywise? Or
Bill is Pennywise. Bill. And Alexander is the Northman.
The Northman, yes, yeah. So he's like the Australian Bill. I feel like he's like that very charismatic, kind of weird looking, but like handsome. But yeah, the whole group of them, and then like there's these really funny like shots where it's supposed to look like you're looking at it through the security camera, but it's edited like a horror movie. So it'll be like the little quote unquote like girl characters, the like creepy little. They have like doll faces. And they're like on swings, and then it'll go like, and then they're like making out in front of the camera, and then they're like shoving a guy. It's like very funny. I love that part. There's a great part where he's like at the door and he gets mad and he just randomly shoots the guy next to him because he like can't control the gun in his hand.
Yes.
So they're very chaotic. They're very like, but I feel like chaotic isn't even a good word because they're also very like they have this like moral agenda, like this like weird set of rules. It seems like I really enjoyed the bad guys, the haunt in this.
They felt very realistic to me. Which is a little also upsetting.
Yeah.
The way they feel entitled to. It's a theme that comes up throughout the series where they feel entitled to their government rights.
Yes.
And the government has granted them this right to do this.
Yes.
And they want to take advantage of that.
Right, which is a little bit too apt to how maybe our society is functioning right now.
Yeah. And then they also are ridiculous. My favorite is when one of the girls is skipping down the hallway with 2 machetes.
Yes.
Which she does nothing with.
No.
But they got this shot.
Yeah, right. And they even say something at the beginning where it's, he says something to James, I guess is his name. I didn't even realize that. Where he says, and because this is another part, this is the problem I think with the first movie is like it tries to set up a lot of things, and it's why, quite frankly, I'm happy there's more movies because I like that it delves more into the lore, because we haven't even really touched on, there's this whole like underlying theme too of like, is the purge just a way for the government to get rid of lower class people, of people, control the homeless population and stuff. So there's even like this part at the beginning where the bad guy says something along the lines of like, we don't want to kill you and your family because you're like us, they're part of this class that is supposed to be sort of this unspoken immunity to the purge. It's like this very like, and you could also see that as like a little bit of a haunt, like this unspoken hierarchy of the purge, and then that gets broken down in this movie.
Right. Yes, that's a really good point.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah, no, that was good. The Purge in the world of the film started in 2016. And I think this movie's set in 2022.
I think I remember seeing that, yeah. Which is kind of funny.
It's been a while. And yes, and then it's in March, so we just missed it. It was like last week when we're recording this. It goes overnight, which also like as someone who has a really hard time staying up late, like, the Purge Night, like, I hate daylight saving time. Like, I would hate Purge Night more for fucking with my sleep.
Honestly, I wouldn't be able to stay up. Even if I wanted to partake in the Purge, I couldn't.
I'm too tired to purge.
I'm tired.
Yeah.
Can't we have like a matinee purge?
I need a nice daytime purge.
Yeah. Or at least like start a little bit earlier, you know. There's no way I'm making it all through the night. That's ridiculous.
I just realized it. So it's not like a full, is it 12 hours? It's not a full
12
day.
hours. Yeah.
Okay.
It goes from like 8 to 8. Yeah.
Because it's always like sunrise when the purge is ending and they're freed from it.
Yeah. Actually, I think like one of the most unsettling parts is the last bit of the movie where, you know, they're kind of like sitting around and it is daylight, but it's not quite over yet. Like, I will say that is kind of unsettling. I don't know if I would actually appreciate a purge during the day.
That's true.
I might just take some NyQuil and like lock myself in like a Tupperware container and just hope for the best.
Hope for the best. Yeah, I would want to be maybe in one of those like Japanese capsule hotels with like but with like a safe thing, you know, that I could like close and again just hope.
Yeah, exactly.
One thing I liked about the concept of the purge is that it seems to be one of the only good uses for the emergency broadcast system.
Yes. Yeah.
They use that noise.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, it's good.
Like,
and they have like
makes sense.
A speaker. And I don't think any of the other movies, because I do like, you know, the only other one I've seen is the second one. I would be really curious about the purge in like the middle of Nebraska. You know, it's like, also, what if you forget about it because that speaker isn't making it to your house? That would be a very funny purge movie, is someone who like forgot about it. And then it's just like someone comes to the door and is like, it's purge night, I'm here to kill you. And they're like, what are you talking about?
Or like a legal drama where there's some discrepancy about whether the purge had started or not.
Yes.
Yeah, either they didn't know, the clocks were set wrong. Maybe there's some time zone wackiness.
Yes, that's right. The time zones. There's a lot of things I thought about with the purge, and I won't get into them all, but like one of the big ones I was thinking of, like, if you steal a car during the purge, like, does that just get to be yours for the rest of the year? Because technically you're still committing a crime after the purge is over. Yeah.
That's a good point. The movie focuses on murder so much. We don't get to explore.
I want to know more of like the petty crime, because
I hope there's a whole episode on petty crime in the series.
Yeah.
I would hope so.
Yes. Yeah.
So speaking of petty crime, if you could do a purge that was like short of murder, like what is something that you think should be legal part of the year, maybe for a day? What's something that you think people should be allowed to do in addition to your like service workers should be allowed to kill one person?
Yeah, I think that every person once in their life should be allowed to operate a piece of machinery that they don't have a license for. Because I love that. I'm terrified of flying. Let me just start off by saying that. But I have this audacity where I fully believe if you put me behind the wheel of a 747, I could fly it. 100%.
I feel like you could. It's all just pressing buttons,
It's
right?
just buttons now, right? I mean, it has to be. So I think that, maybe just once a lifetime, once a year. I'm not sure. I'd have to think about that more. But you should be allowed to, or like, I would just love to drive like, I don't know, like an oil, like one of those huge oil drills, like, just something like that. I want to operate that without a license. A boat.
I want
a
to
big boat.
do a wrecking ball or something.
Yes. Yeah.
Some heavy
absolutely.
construction equipment would be fun.
Yeah, exactly. Some sort of piece of heavy machinery you should be allowed one good go at.
Like, if it wasn't so cold, I would love to drive one of those tiny little sidewalk snowplows that they have in cities. Drive around. I guess I wouldn't mind the cold as much as having to get up early.
Yeah. I wouldn't mind
like
doing like a garbage truck. That'd be kind of fun.
I think it would be fun to hang on to the back of the garbage truck.
Yeah. One day a year, we should just be allowed to do whatever job we want to do.
A job share. That would be so much fun.
Yes. Yeah, exactly.
That's so cute. I love that.
Right? Yeah. Just instead of the purge, it would just be called like the urge. Like whatever your urge is that day.
Yeah. I love that.
Yeah. Anyways, what would you do?
Mine's still violent. I was still thinking about violent things. Like, I don't want to kill someone, but I do think I should be allowed to hit someone with my car.
Yeah.
Like, going 5 miles an hour.
Yeah, right.
If they're not in a crosswalk.
Yeah, honestly. Yeah. That feels good. Yep.
I think that should be fine. Like, and I feel like that's enforceable. I'll put a dash cam in my car. You can gather all the data. You can monitor everything I'm doing all the time. If like once honestly, not even a limit. If they're just not in a crosswalk, I should be able to just tap them. And not have to stop. Like, I don't want to have to stop. That's the thing. Like, because I think technically, like, if someone's not in a crosswalk and they dart out in front of you, like, you're not really liable. But I don't want to deal with all that red tape, all that paperwork. Like, probably going to like civil claims court. No. I just want to be able to tap them and like still make it to work on time.
I absolutely agree with that. That's great.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah. I also think, on a more violent note, that if you get up and you perform karaoke and someone starts speaking loudly while you're performing karaoke, you should be allowed to absolutely clock them. No questions asked.
Oh, do people do that? I don't sing karaoke.
Yes. And it's infuriating. Nothing will make you feel so small.
Rude.
Yeah. Just, you should be allowed to get up and clock them. I don't know what the rules, how it would be enforced, because like, how do you judge how loud someone is?
Mm-hmm.
But I think that should be allowed, because I also don't want everyone to be silent while I'm singing karaoke. So that's the problem.
Yeah.
You need some like
a lot of gray area there.
Yeah. So that one's actually harder, but we'll hammer out the kinks.
Maybe, like you said, just the threat of it will keep people from doing it.
That's fair.
And that's what I'm hoping with, like, I'll wait at the crosswalk for 20 people to cross instead of having to stop every 3 feet because some fucking moron is in the middle of the road.
Right. Or like, if you're going to cross without a crosswalk, because I understand there are sections of the road that are, should have a crosswalk and probably don't. Wait for a break in traffic, like a solid one.
Wait.
Yes. Exactly.
Just wait. And that's the risk you take. That's a risk you take. Exactly. I drive a bright yellow car. If you can't see me coming, if you can't see me coming, I'm going to hit you.
Exactly.
Especially now that I have my unlimited car wash pass too.
It's
going to be so nice. I should be able to tap someone.
Yep.
Go through Washville just if there is any residue left over.
Yep.
Buff it off, get the undercarriage, and then still be on time wherever I'm going.
Yeah, and it's just a footnote in your day.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
Agreed.
There should be an app. It's like my Geico app just sees that like I tapped someone, but it's like, oh,
Yeah.
We verified it through the cam and like the accelerometer.
Yes.
You're good. You just get the gecko. It's just like, good job.
Exactly.
And my insurance should like go down because then I'm
honestly, you're doing a service.
You're doing a public service.
Yeah, I agree.
Oh, I can't wait. This is gonna be great.
Can't wait to be an elected official.
Well, let's talk about some other memorable scenes
Mm-hmm.
that we hadn't discussed yet. The main one for me, I guess, is that the first scene with like all hell breaks loose.
Mm-hmm.
I thought was really well done because they're
Yeah.
building up to the kid letting this stranger into the house. But
Right.
not only does he do that, but then the girl's boyfriend, who says he just wants to talk to the dad, pulls a gun on him.
Yeah.
Just like all of that coming together at once was really, really well done.
Yeah, it was very Crash-esque. Like the
You're
movie
right.
Crash. Yeah.
Yeah.
I will say, because a point, about the kid like letting obviously he should not have let the guy in. Ethan Hawke dies anyways. But if the kid hadn't let the guy in, Ethan Hawke wouldn't have had a gun on him in order to shoot the boyfriend back.
Oh, that's a good point.
I feel like he was kind of screwed anyways.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah. But it would have saved a lot more trouble. Their house wouldn't have been like fucked beyond repair, like it's still stay away from the security cameras.
Well, and they at the end of the movie, all of their neighbors come to kill them. And they come because they see that their security system has been dismantled.
Right.
So it would have eliminated that issue as well.
That is true too. Yeah. Yeah. Which that's the thing is, I will say this movie is impressive that they put in so much conflict in 82 minutes. I mean, it's just coming from everywhere.
Yes.
And it I will say it doesn't feel that chaotic though, like while it's happening. Like it, because I mean, even watching it the second time, I knew the thing about the neighbors, and I'm like, when did the neighbors show up? Like, I know that's a part of it. And it's like the last like 10 minutes. Like it's fast.
I had almost forgotten about them because at the beginning of the movie, I thought, oh, they're showing all these neighbors. There's even a couple of like C-listy actors that I recognized, and like they are going to show up again. And then by the time they showed up, I had forgotten about them. I'm like, oh, that's right, the neighbors.
Right, yeah.
But then it tricked me at first because they come in because they kill all the other bad guys.
Yes.
And I'm like, oh, this is like a heartwarming, like we're here to protect our neighbors. Like this movie, again, I don't try to overthink things or really think at all when I'm watching a movie. So I was just along for the ride. I was like, they got me every step. I was just like,
what are they doing?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it is, I think, done well in that way. It's definitely, I mean, again, maybe I just wasn't thinking about it enough, but I will say, like, I did not see most of what was coming with this movie.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And I will say my favorite scene in the whole movie, and I think a big reason why I loved Ethan Hawke in this movie, is it's at the very beginning, actually, when they're looking at the security cameras, and he sees two people walking down the street in like full military like garb, regalia, whatever. And Ethan Hawke like turns to his wife and goes like, I didn't know they were friends. They're gonna purge together. And he like looks so sad. And like it's so cute. And like, and also, I mean, you could like really think about that scene, like the, sort of like societal expectations of like purging. It's like a Super Bowl party, you're like, oh, I wasn't invited to that purge. Like, it's
Right. They feel left
It's
out.
yeah, and it's like kind of adorable and like a very
Yeah.
serious movie. I loved that. Just like that moment. I actually, when I finished watching the movie, I like was skipping through trying to find that scene so I could get the quote exactly right. Like I was like, I love this.
I love that.
Yeah, so I love that. And I mean, besides that, I feel like we touched on a lot of like the really like my favorite iconic parts. Like I said, the baddies in the movie were just so funny to me. And
Mhm.
so like I wouldn't want like a whole movie focused on them because it would just be too much. But they're every time they appeared on the screen in this movie, I was like just overtaken. I just loved watching them. They're so like
Is it the
cartoony, but like
masks?
interest.
Yeah.
I think it was the masks and just like I don't know, and trying to think of like who would these people be and outside of the purge? Like probably
Mm.
like probably like bad nerds. Like the annoying nerds. I feel like they're not actually because why else would they have machetes?
That's true.
They're like weirdly collecting them or something. I
Yeah.
don't know. They probably like I think they're Best Buy employees for sure. Like for sure.
Was Circuit City still around when this movie came out?
Yeah. Well, if it was 2022, I think no, technically. But when the movie came out, they might have
Yeah,
been
they might
around.
not have foreseen the end of Circuit
Yeah,
City.
yeah. I think they are like for sure. Like because they can't be like unemployed because they're part of this sort of like semi-elite group. But
Well, unless they're like trust fund kids.
That's true too. They could be that.
That's how I saw them, I think, was just
Yeah.
rich like college students
Yeah. I see them
who
as
don't have
like
jobs. Or they're like
like
RAs or something.
yeah, I see like middle management Best Buy. Like not like the ones who are helping people every single day, but the ones who are
Mm.
like, oh, you couldn't get that 80-year-old woman to buy an iPad. What are you doing? Like that
Okay.
one,
The
you
ones who
know?
are working for the company.
Yes, exactly.
Mhm.
Exactly. No offense to
I
Best Buy people.
I
Really like a
lost
discount.
I lost track of how many of them there were.
Yeah.
I think the movie works differently than your average. I don't know if I would even call this a horror movie because it's so action oriented.
Yeah.
And the later ones even more so.
Yeah.
But there's a fight scene in the game room in this one that's really well choreographed.
I do love
But
that scene.
they just keep coming in. I'm like, how many of these people are there? I thought there were like 5 of them.
Yeah, yeah, it is. And then because, well, it's like the small group, and then he says that they're waiting for backup because then,
Oh, the backup.
yeah, so it's like, I'm
Forgot about the
surprised that
backup.
there are so many things that surprise me about this movie. And one of the biggest ones is that like cell phone towers aren't down or at least like flooded. You know what I mean? Like,
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I can't believe that cell phone communication is still easy and doable
Yeah.
at this point. So I don't know how they're communicating. Maybe WhatsApp. Well, I don't know. Is WhatsApp around? Well, in 2022 it would be, but I don't know. But whatever.
Yeah.
Very bizarre.
That's another interesting thing about this movie that maybe is unintentional, but
Mhm.
for a movie, when did this come out? 2009? 2013. So
Yeah.
they're looking ahead 10 years in the future. And I think I was reading ahead a bit. I haven't seen the Forever Purge yet, but I think by that point we're supposed to be in the 2040s. But I don't think there's any technology, and
Yeah.
the movie isn't interested in that aspect. And I wonder if it is intentional or accidental. Like maybe the purge as a concept is dampening creativity or innovation. Is that being harmed because of the purge, or
Interesting.
did they
Yeah.
just more likely scenario they just didn't think about that or,
Yeah.
care? they're not
Right.
obligated to make it science fiction either. But
Yes.
I don't know, that was an interesting concept that I thought about.
Yeah, because they don't really talk. There's nothing like the only real piece of technology you see is the security system, and it's especially looking at it now, maybe in 2013. I mean, I was a sophomore in college, so like I wasn't really paying attention to the security systems, but it seemed pretty standard, like for that time, definitely standard for now.
Right.
Like, so, it is kind of funny that it's like, and do they ever mention in this movie? I'm sure during the first Purge they say when it started, but like, do they mention in this movie how long the Purge has been going on? It feels like it's been
I think
a while.
so.
Yeah.
I think it's been, I think they do say when it started in this one. So it was created in 2016. And then,
okay.
So this is the 6th Purge.
Oh, okay. So you would think that like the security system would be maybe a little bit more advanced, having gone through so many, but also maybe, it's kind of like that sense of complacency. They haven't felt the need to improve upon it because so far it's been working for them.
So far it's worked. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, what do you think after all we've discussed? Do you think this movie is gothic at all?
I don't think so. I don't know. Do you agree?
There's part of me that wants to say goth-ish just because of the house. We didn't really talk about the house. It's just kind of like a standard house. One thing I wanted to mention is they have a little like purge room where they have a TV and it seems to be like a central location in the house.
Yeah.
In this room, there is just like a fishbowl filled with like dominoes you could buy at Walmart.
I did not notice
part
that.
of the decor. A
that
fishbowl
so
filled with cheap dominoes.
That is so bizarre.
That was like the first thing I noticed. I was like,
did not
why is there
that.
a bowl of dominoes? I'm like, is that decor? Is that how they just store their dominoes in case they're bored during the purge and literally want to play dominoes? Couldn't a rich family have nicer dominoes? And then I'm like, is this symbolic? Like, they're not even in a row. They're just thrown in a bowl. It's chaos.
So honestly, that feels like something that I would have seen on HGTV at that time, though. So I feel like they just thought, like, this is the decor of the future.
It's like when they staged Dakota Johnson's kitchen with limes.
The limes. I love
if
limes.
Only they had. I would love to do a bowl full of dominoes. Dakota Johnson. I love dominoes.
I love dominoes. I love playing dominoes.
Play dominoes
all the time. Oh my god! Now I'm just imagining Dakota Johnson during the Purge, and it's like brilliant.
I think she would both have a really cool party.
Yes.
And
be like unhinged.
And probably kill at least 2 people. Like
100%. Please cast Dakota Johnson in the next Purge movie. We need this so bad.
We need an actor playing themselves in a Purge movie.
Yes, like the what was that like terrible one about the world ending where it had like a bunch of celebrities?
Isn't it called like The World is About to End or something like that?
I don't know.
Like Harry Potter was in it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Do that with Dakota Johnson and the Purge. Please, please, please.
Oh my god, that would be amazing.
I would die. She would definitely kill at least one person on the Madame Web production team. At least one. She would offer them up. 100%.
She's got to be wanting to go to a different cinematic universe at this point. So get her in the Purge cinematic universe.
Purge. Oh,
yes.
Oh my god, I would die.
But I think I can settle with not gothic for you. Really, it has the it's interesting because I think it does have the tropes and the trappings, but it doesn't have the mood.
Yeah, it doesn't have the mood. It's, you know, I think the gothic guy is kind of a little semi iffy too, because he's just
Yeah.
so oblivious. I feel like it's like,
He's too oblivious. And this is going to sound really asinine, but I think this movie is, I can't believe I'm about to say this about The Purge, but it's too intellectual. It's it's not, what I mean is it's not concerned with feelings other than unease. It's more, it is concerned with this as a thought exercise.
It is. Yeah. A lot
and
of
the gothic is about emotion.
Yeah. It's about the feeling, not necessarily the showing. And, we don't talk about a lot of gothic movies that really sort of like deal with society as a whole. And this is definitely a movie that is concerned with that concept more.
Right. Yeah. I agree.
Yeah. Yeah.
But it was still a fun ride.
It is fun.
Recommend the rest of them.
Yeah. I like how we ended it with like, oh, it's so fun. And we were also like, this is the most depressing movie. You don't want to think about it. It's
I know.
It's hard because I
kind of hate watching them.
Yeah. I wouldn't not.
But I like that I did it.
Yeah. And it's yeah, I think it gets better on rewatch too. Like because I definitely did not like it the first time I watched it, and then I liked it a little bit more the second time, and I can only imagine I would like it more on the third. So
I would watch it again.
Yeah,
this was my first time watching it.
Yeah, maybe by like the sixth time, it'll be like one of my favorites.
I watched this one, and then I watched 3 more in the span of 2 days.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's one of those movies too where, I don't know if I already mentioned it. I'm glad that they made sequels. I'm glad that they're building on it, and I'm glad it's not like direct sequels. Like it's this cinematic universe. I think it's fun. Good for them.
And it is interesting that they ultimately don't like the concept of the purge. That's where the plots of the future ones go, is that the protagonists of the movie oppose the purge.
Yeah.
And so it is, in a way, even though the idea is really cynical, it's fighting against its own concept, which I find fascinating.
Yeah. It's like we said before, it's cynical, but it has these characters that kind of ground you. But I'm glad that it goes more meta and chaotic.
It's a rich text, The Purge.
Yes, it is intellectual, and I'm sure that there will be a new one with. Is Francis Ford Coppola still alive?
I think so. He has his winery, and I think he's still alive.
Okay, so he should direct the next one.
Yes, get him back.
Same writer and director as Jack. It'll be so fucked up.
Bring them back. Jennifer Lopez could play herself in it, maybe.
Oh, that'd be fun.
Put Fran Drescher in The Purge.
Absolutely.
She's she's the head of the SAG union. She's the president. She's working on, getting them their fair cut. So she's turned into a badass now.
Hell yeah, she would fit in very well in the Purge movie. Yeah.
Well, we have that to look forward to.
Very excited.
Well, thank you, Amanda, and thank you, Ghosties, for listening to us break down The Purge. Please subscribe wherever you get your podcasts. You can rate and review us on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, and drop us an email. So, gothicpod@gmail.com. You can send us suggestions for future films and friendly comments only, please. But until next time, stay ghosty. Bye-bye.
Bye.